So a liberal New York judge just did something so unconstitutional that I actually had to look it up under 5 different sources because I didn't believe there was any chance this actually happened. So Judge Engelmeyer just forbade all political appointees, including the new Secretary of the Treasury, from accessing U.S. Department of Treasury data. You understand how insane that is? The judge just banned the Secretary of the Treasury, the person who is in charge of the United States Treasury, from having access to the United States Treasury data. And in doing this, the judge cited no law, no precedent, and not even any reason to do this. Oh, and the order was ex parte, meaning it couldn't be challenged. In fact, the only lawyers allowed to weigh in on this were Democrat attorney generals. They just banned the person in charge of the Treasury from accessing the Treasury. Now, all the employees that were there when Biden was in power, they still have access. So right now, the Secretary of the Treasury has less power than the people who work for him. This is insane. You can just get a judge in New York to say the Secretary of the Treasury doesn't get to do anything at the Treasury. And while this order is currently only for a week, these Democrat attorney generals are pushing to make this permanent. They are trying to permanently bar the Secretary of the Treasury from accessing anything at the Treasury. This is seditious and treasonous. How are you going to have random state judges and random state attorney generals bar the executive branch from accessing information in the executive branch? How are you going to bar the Secretary of Treasury from the Treasury? Sanctions, being fired. These people need to go to jail.
The real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law, and they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits. This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these liberal judges who are supporting their obstructionist efforts: 77 million Americans voted to elect this president, and each injunction is an abuse of the rule of law and an attempt to thwart the will of the people. As the president clearly stated in the Oval Office yesterday, we will comply with the law in the courts, but we will also continue to seek every legal remedy to ultimately overturn these radical injunctions and ensure President Trump's policies can be enacted.
So now President Trump defending DOGE and its efforts to root out corruption in the government. He's touting the early results already and blasting the courts for ruling against the department, which could play out for some time now. The Attorney General, fresh on the job, is Pam Bondi, and she's got a beautiful backdrop there at the North Lawn of the White House. And thank you for your time, and good morning. Good morning to you. Yeah, I want to play a soundbite from yesterday about the judges here. Here is President Trump on that.
We want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation.
Just that comment in there about maybe we have to look at the judges. What does that mean?
Well, Bill, we have so many unelected judges who are trying to control government spending, and there is a clear separation of powers. You know, they're doing it to Elon Musk, who is a great man and a good friend at DOGE. What they're doing to him is to our country is outrageous. You know, people work their whole lives and pay taxes, yet they find out that they've been giving $2 million to Guatemala for sex changes. It's outrageous, and it's going to stop. We're going to fight back, not only with U.S. aid and all these other agencies, but, you know, this is happening every day. But DOJ, we are prepared to defend all of these cases, and we will carry out President Trump's agenda.
Got it. In time, and you may be
country.
successful in that, but the president can't go after these judges. so to speak?
Well, these judges are lifetime appointments, but what we can do is appeal them. And that's what's actually happening today in a case. We're appealing a case right now. It went up to the First Circuit, and the First Circuit sent it back to the district court to clarify. And if they don't rule in our favor, we will go to the United States Supreme Court and get clarification and get a ruling, because we have outrageous, overzealous, unconstitutional judges trying to control federal spending. And, you know, that's what's been happening to Kristi Noem. The Roosevelt Hotel, of course, is the most prominent example of that, trying to force us to release tax dollars. And one unelected district judge is trying to do that to our entire country, but we will appeal it, and that is our remedy.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law, and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the President of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it, and the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress.
I want to return to
get away. I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Yeah. Should the president, the singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
JD is correct about this, and his examples are exactly right. Where the executive has sole and plenary power under the Constitution, as in commanding military operations or exercising prosecutorial discretion, judges cannot constitutionally interfere.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.